Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a topic that has absolutely captivated human beings for millennia. Think about it. Long before magicians were pulling fluffy rabbits out of top hats or making people disappear on grand stages, our ancient ancestors were already entirely fascinated by the impossible. Today, we're going to look at the historical data, the methods, and the wild evolution of illusions to understand exactly how early humans engineered miracles and how that legacy is still blowing our minds today.
Okay, let's dive into this. What makes the impossible possible? It sounds like a total paradox, right? But as we begin our seamless chronological journey through the history of human deception, we're going to see that answering this exact question is the literal foundation of magic. Making the impossible possible isn't about actually breaking the laws of physics. No way. It's really about mastering the art of perception. We're going to trace this story from the ancient world right up to the screens in our living rooms today.
Here's the timeline of magic we'll be covering. We're breaking this down into 4 distinct eras, starting 4,000 years ago, moving into ancient Greece and Rome, leaping to the explosive innovations of the 1800s, and finally landing in the modern era. We'll see how the scale of illusions grew from hidden mechanisms inside ancient temples to the massive, globally broadcast digital stages of today. Let's get to it.
To kick things off, we have to rewind the clock a staggering 4,000 years. According to ancient writings, one of the earliest recorded magic performances in human history actually took place in ancient Egypt. A magician was brought in to entertain the pharaoh by performing these incredible, mind-bending illusions. Now, hey, whether every single detail of those ancient stories was 100% true is unknown, but what it definitively shows us is that people, even ancient all-powerful rulers, loved magic. They were actively seeking out the experience of the impossible thousands of years ago.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how they actually pulled it off. Thousands of years ago, the people amazing the crowds were usually ancient priests and storytellers. And their secret? Well, some used hidden mechanisms built directly into the architecture of temples. Others leveraged basic scientific principles, like early physics and chemistry, that just weren't common knowledge yet. Because the general public didn't have that specific scientific context, these carefully engineered tricks looked exactly like real, undeniable magic to ordinary people.
But as time marched on, the methods evolved from grand temple architecture to incredible close-up physical skill. The ancient Greeks and Romans started performing tricks using what we now call the art of sleight of hand. And this required immense dexterity. These ancient performers executed lightning-fast physical tricks that completely baffled their audiences. People would stand right in front of them, watching as closely as humanly possible, and still be totally unable to explain what they had just seen with their very own eyes.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how they did it. Ancient magicians created a rapid-fire sequence of impossibilities by manipulating small objects right under the noses of confused crowds. The core steps were simple but devastatingly effective. First, make objects appear out of thin air. Second, make them disappear just as quickly. And third, make them change places instantly. It was all about pure speed and controlling exactly where the audience was looking at any given millisecond.
As the centuries passed, this kind of close-up magic became a wildly popular form of mainstream entertainment. Magicians essentially became traveling performers, visiting local villages and bustling markets to amaze crowds with a really simple toolkit. We're talking cups, balls, cards, ropes, and hidden objects. They weren't relying on complex temple mechanics anymore. They were taking simple, everyday, relatable items and turning them into instruments of absolute wonder.
So, the crucial point is that these traveling performers weren't claiming to have actual supernatural abilities or godlike powers, not at all. Their entire stated goal was simply to fool the human eye. They relied entirely on highly refined deceptive skills and misdirection. They figured out exactly how the human brain processes visual information, and they exploited those little mental gaps to create the illusion of magic.
Let's move to and see how this builds when we compare the stage magic of the 1800s to the modern magic of today. We're transitioning from a performer in a village square with just a cup and a ball to the heavy physical engineering of the 19th century stage, and then finally to the highly complex, multidisciplinary approach of the digital era.
During the 1800s, stage magic became more advanced than ever before. Magicians basically became master engineers, designing secret machines, hidden compartments, mirrors, and incredibly complex trapdoors.
This allowed them to perform astonishing large-scale illusions before massive theater audiences. Because of these physical tools, performers could suddenly appear to levitate right in midair, or even make entire human beings completely vanish off the stage. It was a real game changer.
Which brings us right up to the modern era. Today, television and the internet have introduced magic to millions of people around the world simultaneously. But, to fool a high-def camera and a modern, skeptical audience, today's magicians need an entirely new toolkit. They combine centuries-old misdirection with advanced engineering, deep principles of human psychology, and absolute years of rigorous practice. They're taking that ancient art of fooling the eye and supercharging it with modern technology to create these impossible-looking illusions for a global audience. Yet, despite all of that incredible technological advancement, here is the most fascinating takeaway of this entire explainer. The underlying psychology remains identical. It is such a striking juxtaposition. We have transitioned from primitive hidden mechanisms inside ancient stone temples to global internet broadcasting. But the core human desire to witness the impossible and the psychological blind spots that allow us to be fooled remain completely 100% unchanged.
We'll wrap up with this idea, which serves as a powerful thesis spanning thousands of years of this history. Magic is fundamentally about making people question what they think is possible. From the pharaohs of Egypt 4,000 years ago to you watching a screen right now, magic forces us to confront the limits of our own perception. So, I'll leave you with this provocative thought. The next time you see something impossible, are you witnessing a miracle, or are you just witnessing the limits of your own eyes? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and always keep questioning what you see.